Welcome to Toot Your Own Horn, Music Matters. Today we are here with Garret Jones. I am so happy to have you, Garret.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and really jumped at the opportunity when you asked me to come and be a guest on the podcast today.
It's so awesome. I would love for you to share with our audience how you got started playing your instrument and to tell us what happened next.
Yeah, for sure. I had to dig a little bit to think of this. I play a lot of concerts with our regional orchestras around here in Michigan, and one of the things that will often come up is we'll do a hand raise in the orchestra when we're talking with the kids and everything in the audience. And it's what year or how old were you when you started to play your instrument? And it always trips me up a little bit because I'm like, how old was I? How long ago was it? So I started playing when everybody else that was my age in my school district did in seventh grade in my junior high school band program. And I grew up in Texas, which is a huge band state. I had no exposure to orchestra or anything until I think my senior year in high school. So a long, long time. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it really shows you kind of how the culture is different, especially when you look at what is so popular and money driven, especially in schools in Texas. And then you come up, or we really go anywhere else. And you're like, oh yeah, orchestras are a thing. So I started playing when I was 12 years old in seventh grade. And I remember the year before that, near the end of that year, we were finishing elementary school, and you go and do the thing with the band directors and trying all the different instruments, mouthpieces, and everything. And I knew that I wanted to play three instruments because my dad played these three instruments when he was a student. He went to college for music and doesn't play anymore. He's an electrician now, so big 180. But it was in the blood and everything, and so I knew I wanted to do that. He was really jazzed that I was interested in it. So I knew I wanted to either play saxophone, drum, percussion, or clarinet. And I really was also interested in oboe, and that did not stick at all. But I remember the head band director at this school, who I still have maintained a lot of contact with, love her, Christine Bell Cumberledge. Um, tried the sax mouthpiece, it was fine. Tried percussion, could keep rhythm okay, but they really wanted you to have a piano background, and I didn't have any. And then I remember the clarinet mouthpiece and barrel was the last one that I tried, and she was like, "You're playing this." And it for the first time, you always feel like the ring in your head and everything gets really loud when you're playing that. And I was like, "Oh no, it sounds terrible." As a little kid, you don't know what else to expect. And she was like, "You need to play clarinet." And so I did, and I played all the way through. I mean, still play today, of course, but played all the way through junior high, all the way through high school. Went to college for my undergraduate music education at Baylor in Texas, and then came up to University of Michigan in Ann Arbor for both my master's. I had two master's degrees there in clarinet performance and chamber music, and then stayed there for my doctorate. So, and I still play clarinet.
Was it
And
was it ever a choice? Like, was there another subject you were interested in, or what made it such a slam dunk that this was just going to happen?
yeah, it's really funny because uh, every time somebody asked me, like, why did you continue with music into college and everything? I was like, well, there was nothing else that I was doing or good at. And so it kind of, when you're that age, I think that you really need to feel driven by something. And I don't know if at the time I really recognized that that's what I was feeling. It was more like, oh, this makes sense and I'm good at this and I enjoy doing it. But you look back on that with a completely different outlook just as an adult, frankly. And it made a lot of sense. It was something that I really enjoyed doing. I had made a lot of connections with people, as you do just in our community. We're so closely and tightly knit. And you just continue to grow yourself and with others. And that's, I think, what's really powerful about our art form and our community in general is because we're so deeply intertwined, there's a lot of potential for just collaboration and growth within that. So that keeps me doing this kind of work today because of course it's fun. When you're in the professional world, it's a little more stressful, I would say, but it really makes it all worth it when you get to meet new people, work with people, and play at different places and everything. So, and everything changes all the time, which is also so great. So you never get bored.
Did you ever feel challenged? Did people challenge you that, why are you going into music, or like, or was it just it was accepted and a lot of people were doing it then?
Yeah, I mean, you, especially in Texas, which is a big football state too. A lot of my family too. I'm the first musically inclined person in my family, aside from my dad, who went to school, but kind of steered away from it, I think, near the end of it. But you always get asked questions that are, what can you do with a degree in music? What can you do with that? Is it just for fun or something? Uh you don't get I don't think that people ask those questions so much anymore. So this is, 20 years ago. But it kind of you get asked that stuff enough that it starts to hit you in a way,
Yeah.
and it makes you start to question yourself a little bit. And so I think I was just so narrow-minded and had blinders on that I was like, well, yeah, it's like what I want to do. I don't need a plan right now after I graduate in 4 or 5 years. So, um, I would say maybe have a little bit more of a plan than maybe I did. However, challenges specific to clarinet playing, I remember going into my undergrad program, and my teacher at the time, the late Richard Chanley at Baylor, was like, "We need to redo all of your embouchure because you're biting the crap out of everything." And it was a chore, and it's something I still struggle with today. And you many years even later than that, it's still just a little bit of something that I keep in mind. And so like physically with some of that, it is still a little bit challenging to continue to perform in that way. But I think I was really lucky when it comes to not having a lot of barriers that kept me from progressing forward, especially in my pursuit for education and doing auditions and everything. So I know a lot of people that had a lot more to deal with, if it was financially, if it was having to kind of pick and choose with obligations and other work or some family issues. So um, I feel really fortunate that I didn't necessarily have a lot of that, but
So was the gigging like, did you think you were going to gig or teach, or like, did you have any idea of what it meant, or was it purely just the joy of playing and what drove your decision?
yeah, yeah. I think very early on in my undergraduate degree, I, for whatever reason, decided I want to be a conductor. I don't know where that came from. That didn't last very long. We had to take conducting classes as part of that curriculum, and I think that really solidified that that was not a good decision for me. And you kind of grow through all of that, and you play more, orchestra more, you get more rep under your belt, and ensemble and solo rep. And going into the end of that degree, wanting to go for a master's and everything, I really wanted to play. I really wanted to win an orchestra job and play full time. Going through my master's program and getting near the end of that, again, I've never really had a solid plan in mind that it's like, okay, this is the job specifically that I'm going to apply and go for. It was kind of like, oh, I guess I can stay in school. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I ended up out, I
Higher
came
education
out
loves
just fine. Yeah, yes,
higher
exactly. And
education
that
loves you.
they love my wallet too, for sure.
Right.
Um, so anyway, getting to the end of the master's degree, still playing a lot, still know that I want to play, but teaching some students that were non-majors at the school, and even teaching a lot privately before then, made me really intrigued in what it would look like to be an educator, and particularly in higher education. And so going into my doctorate and really embracing that passion that I kind of discovered in doing that more. I really wanted to not only play, but uh, hopefully apply and get a job in academia to teach at a university. And some of that didn't quite work out because I graduated just in time for COVID. And so everything turned on its head with that. But cut to today and what I'm doing now, like everything happened for a reason and everything worked out great. And I can't imagine where I am in my career and in music doing anything different because everything has just worked out. But Yeah, I think my journey with all of that speaks to how things can evolve within yourself in a way that what you find fulfilling and what you're passionate about, based on what you are doing, but also what's available and out there. And that also speaks to that you don't really need to box yourself into an expectation that you maybe use that for yourself or that you see other people. I think our industry is really not in a bad way, but elitist minded that you have to be the best to succeed in order to do XYZ. And I think we are seeing that break down a little bit, just kind of in conjunction with how culture in general is evolving, because you don't need to fit into these boxes to be successful. There's so many ways that you can use your personal form of art and your expression of art to still succeed and be fulfilled, feel fulfilled for yourself, and also support yourself and your family in so many ways.
And where do you think the line or the time is for an artist or a musician to realize that it's very important to obviously feel fulfilled, but it's also very important for those you serve to feel fulfilled?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if I've really ever thought about that, to be honest, and I probably should. But I think that one, you have to take care of yourself. You have to make sure that you are not being true to yourself and what your needs are when it comes to especially trying to accommodate and portray yourself in a field. Like if you're in a, for example, and a lot of this has kind of come around recently in the past few years, if you're in a toxic group, if you're having experiences in an orchestra that are making you not feel safe, of course, but if you're not enjoying what you're doing, I don't think that's a cue to pull the plug, but it's a good cue to maybe start to think about what is not working here and what would it look like on at the end of this journey? What do I want it to look like? And that might be some sort of change that needs to happen on a grander scale in a group that you're in, and maybe you can help facilitate something like that. But if it's something where it's specific to how this orchestra is functioning, and it's not working for me, the culture here, the people here,
Mhm.
regardless of who, we don't need to play a blame game, but regardless of who, is inciting any of that or making that resonate, take a chance to look at, okay, what else is out there and what can I start to look for? And I don't think that you should ever necessarily sacrifice your well-being and what you in being true to yourself and giving back that art to fall in line or appease
Mhm.
others or other leadership. And it's difficult because a lot of times I think that we follow the dollar signs a lot, and it's hard, especially nowadays. If you're, in that example, if you're in an orchestra and you want to go somewhere else, it's a process. You can't hop around. Not that you used to be able to, but you certainly can't now. There's a revolving door with, I think, chairs and orchestras now that's enough, but it's still a toss up. So it's really tough, and unfortunately it can be kind of easy to feel stuck. And I think that as long as you're taking the space for yourself to be aware of how you are feeling and check in with yourself, I think that I can speak for myself and some others too, that it's really easy to forget to do that. And yeah, just make sure that you take care of yourself before you take care, not necessarily take care of others, but don't don't find yourself in a tough spot where you're having to really bend over and do things that you really don't want to that aren't good for you.
Mhm. And I kind of wonder about your comment about chasing the money because I feel like as someone who came into this industry and felt like the industry portion of it was being ignored, that musicians haven't been very good actually about chasing the money because they haven't recognized that if you can repair an instrument or you can sell an instrument and really be knowledgeable, you can help your community grow in a way that will also serve you. And that hasn't been very popular, actually. And I feel like it's only since the pandemic that people are starting to realize maybe I need to look at all other things that I can do within this space.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that is a great point that I was kind of talking about or earlier talking about. There's so many ways that you can develop yourself and explore other interests that maybe you don't currently have right now. But instrument repair is a great one that I think, at least when I was growing up, I didn't really know a lot about it. And the network, yeah, and then the network that of people that already existed in that field, it didn't feel accessible for somebody to get into. And
We're really snotty.
yeah, exactly. You said it. No, but I totally agree because and you would work with techs and other people that own their businesses and everything, and it was almost like you were afraid to say, "Oh, hey, I don't really like this. Can you adjust this a little more?" And it's really damaging for you to not feel like you can work with somebody closely like that, but you're also not doing yourself a service and fitting your instrument in the way that you need it to because it's so personalized to every single person. But that's just another way that if you're in a crossroads in a career, I think that that's really important for us, especially nowadays where the need for instrument technicians and these really experienced people that know the anatomy and physiology of just how these things acoustically function. It's so rare now, and I think there's such a need for that. And I think, you would probably know better than I where all of this is, but it still kind of seems like it's difficult to get into that. And I've seen the classes and everything that you're trying to pull people into, and it's really great because I think that's the missing link with some of this is that it still seems just inaccessible. It feels like it's exclusionary. And, that along with many other things in the world in general outside our industry, it's like we need to break that down and just invite people that are interested in it.
Well, and I think it
to
opens up
explore it.
opportunities if people could find other avenues to be able to play in a smaller orchestra that you love but would not support you, or
Yeah.
to an adjunct university that you love the students at and you love the culture, but you would also, again, not support you full time and be able to supplement your income in a way that you can actually feel like you matter in that community and that you are making a difference and there's plenty of room for you to grow instead of feeling like, well, I didn't win that big job. So, and I can't see a way to, so I should be doing something else or being demoralized because I think musicians are really a bright light in most communities if they would embrace that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And really going along the lines of we're talking about audition culture and
Right.
teaching positions and stuff, and it's just the reality of the situation with the way that orchestras are structured is, especially when you talk clarinet, strings are a little bit different. There's one seat that opens in these orchestras, and there may be that one seat open in that orchestra that gets filled for the next 20 years. I mean, you never know. And so it's so competitive, and there's there's issues with that, but when you talk about what it looks like to pursue a career in that, it's a gamble. It's hard to gamble with putting all your eggs in a basket and trying to survive, frankly, only under that trajectory for your career until something falls into place. It's really subjective, in the audition process and everything, but you're depending really on one good day for yourself, and everybody else does not have a good day. And there's we could talk about auditions all day, but the point that I'm trying to make is that it's really great to explore this other repair career, even if it's a supplemental part of your career, because it's something else that you are guaranteed always to have business for.
Right.
Um,
The
and
appreciation.
it will, yeah, exactly. And I can speak to myself because I live here in Kalamazoo, and if you're looking also, Lisa, to open a new store, please come to Kalamazoo because we have no repair people here, and we need that. And so,
We have a
um,
virtual plan. I'm here. Help me find
yeah,
a person to recruit and help
I know.
salesperson because we're teaching all this stuff and we actually would like to teach it for manufacturers and for other stores.
Hmm.
And we think we can help a lot of people if there would be this collaboration instead of competition, right?
Yeah,
Instead of
absolutely.
I'm going to steal your ideas or I'm going to take from you. How about we let the people that do things well do them and support them and all fill in with all of our talents. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden we'd have a much more robust culture.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Right. And that's what I'm
Hmm.
really all about is that I'm very much looking for that and saying our communities everywhere need that. And we need to somehow become more collaborative. And the industry portion of it, repair and sales, actually provide you with that kind of opportunity. Right.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
as someone who's a hardcore performer and teacher, it really makes me happy to hear you say that you have compassion for that and feel like it
Yeah.
makes some sense because it just feels like there's been this elitist mentality for way too long around this is the only way to be successful. And, the impact you make is vast if you can do more things.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe part of it comes from just my story. Graduating with my doctorate, trying to and interviewing, successfully getting interviews with a few university institutions before COVID happened and everything turned on its head. And that did not work out for me. And so it was a real struggle that ended up I'm trying to find a job, kind of as COVID is rearing down. And I find myself going into arts admin with the orchestra I work at with the Kalamazoo Symphony. And I, again, everything has just fallen into place and the way that you kind of have to do it for yourself. You have to search for these opportunities. But it's a perfect testament to you can still play. I still play in this orchestra too, and a lot of other orchestras around here. But I also do what is really meaningful work, and our orchestra is really deeply embedded in our community. And we listen and do things that cater to what the needs are for the people that we serve. And it's an exact reflection of what we're talking about with the instrument repair, because you're looking at what is needed in the community and responding to that and trying to be more accessible, trying to create opportunity for that. And but all of that to say is that I'd never pictured myself being here and doing this, but it still scratches that itch of really fulfilling this artistic need and passion of everything that we do. And
So do you think,
as, you know,
it's that you became more mature, like as you got into being more of an adult, that kind of openness, became present, or do you think it was something like because I feel like it takes a certain age of someone who continues in the craft to realize that there's more, right? Because I think a lot of times we start out with it being fairly self-serving. It's fun to play the clarinet. I really enjoy it. It's the only thing I'm really good at. And like same thing. Well, we'll just figure out later what to do because it's more fun just to practice, right? And
yeah.
then
Mhm.
you get through some degrees or you get through a little space and you start to realize, where is that I guess I'm wondering where is that tip? What do you think causes that to happen?
Yeah, I think that there's 2 points to this. One, you're completely right that there's some age that goes into it and just experience, because when you're in school, you're really in a bubble, and there's a degree of truth to how it reflects to what, I say the real world, but the professional world. When you get out of school, it's hard to keep practicing. It's hard because the reason that you like doing that is because you have ensemble performances and solo chamber things that you're doing as part of that program. And that helps you, that's stuff that gets put on your stand to drive you to do all of that. And once you're out of that and you're on your own with all of it, it's hard. Like I can attest to it where it's like you kind of have to push yourself to just pull something out of your library and be like, yeah, I need to play something. I'm out of shape and have a concert in a week. So that one part is I think that there is an emotional growth that happens as you get more into that environment. But the other part is that you have to see this stuff. You have to experience and be put yourself into the environment to see the reality of all of this, because we more often than not just fall victim to we know because we're told. You learn from teachers, you learn from all these astounding professionals that serve as your teachers and your mentors that you need to win an orchestra job to be successful. You need to get a good teaching job. And we're starting to work out of that, I think. But when I was in school, that was the messaging, and there's not a lot of flexibility, and you can still do this. However, it's okay if this isn't the full-time thing. Here are some other options and everything. And I'm a really fierce advocate for that, where you might have a student that you might not have this conversation with them because maybe they're not ready to, but you can sense maybe like a full-time performance track is not right for you in the sense, and just in the realistic sense. However, you're also investing as a teacher in the emotional well-being of that student because you don't want them to go out with expectations that they're not going to be able to meet. And that's also, I think, part of your duty to serve them and helping them explore what other options they might be interested in and also good at. Because again, there's not a form to fill out that you check a box to be successful in all of this stuff. I think that we create our own success in ways that we are happy. We do things that make us happy, and that for me personally, if I'm successful in my work, other people are feeling that. Like it's service. Our entire industry is service, whether it's on stage or it's behind the scenes work in a ticket office or something. So we function in a service role to spread awareness, art, and entertainment and education.
And our universities are not very driven by the creation of jobs. I think this is an area that lacks that kind of stability, but yet in the industry sector, there are so many opportunities to create jobs that have not been explored because I think the university programs of the past have seen it as less than.
Yeah.
And my example is DePaul, which God rest his soul, Don Casey. He's also gone. He was the dean of DePaul. And when he brought me in to teach a class there, he really respected my business acumen. And he also told me DePaul is a performing school and a music education school. And I said, that's great, Don, but it also needs to have some other offerings. And he said, well, if the students want it and you create it, I will accept it, but it's not how I envisioned DePaul to be. And he allowed me to be on the advisory board, and he allowed me to pursue things that were not in his main course of vision for what the school was to achieve. And I was successful at creating a degree program there that was with his blessings, but not with his advocacy. And he wasn't against me. He never turned against me. He never, ever stopped it. But it wasn't his choice. And he was on my side, meaning he was up for whatever the students really wanted and was willing to do right by the students. But I think that's a difficult situation because so many schools won't even let that happen, right? They don't to see their status from performing and education be what they call diminished by industry activities that actually are where the jobs are and where their students can have a tremendous amount of success, and they're not even offered. And so therefore the faculty don't know anything about it. Like, I can go back 30 years and say that this has been a problem the whole time I've been around. Like, this has been a huge problem. No people to sell to you in a way that people feel comfortable knowing that that person really understands the product and can be of service to you, and no one to fix it. And if you think about the gateways for helping people to get involved in music, those are unfortunately very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you're exactly right when you talk about education and performance, are the two buckets that things traditionally fall in. And it's so embedded in tradition that, to your point, unfortunately, it's like these other things, if you're trying to put courses in or you're trying to put specific degree programs, certainly in these, if it doesn't detract, it's seen as less than.
Right.
And I think that is uplifted in a sense by some people that exist in the field. And I think that it's really important that we work to break that down because you talk about performance and education. There's always the need for educators, of course, and there's always need for performers. There's nothing wrong with these degree programs as they stand. I don't think that something else that is drawing attention away. I think it's just providing another opportunity for people. And it's just not only is there a need for repair or anything else that's outside of these two buckets, there's a need for that, but people's interests evolve, our industry evolves. And 10, 20 years ago, interests are different. People care about different things, and also our technology is different. Everything is just evolving. And so we need to as well, and not, one of the issues, especially you're pumping out performance majors in all these really performance driven schools, but the jobs aren't growing. So there's no new orchestras. So you have this oversaturation of players that can fall into these kind of rut buckets where it's like, what am I doing right now? And so I think it's a great opportunity that you are providing to,
But it's mostly
supplement
I
that.
want to see musicians not compete.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very entrepreneurial environment where everything was discussed and shared and people were supported and helped. And when I got into music, I discovered very quickly that there was this knock you off so I can win mentality. And
Yeah.
it kind of blew me away because I thought this is supposed to be about collaboration and working together for the vision of a whole, right? And so this kind of environment where schools are pushing out all these students that can't get jobs creates more of that kind of underlying tension because we all feel very responsible for our parents and family who put us through and paid for these programs. And, we don't want to fail and we don't want to fail both among our peers or among those who have supported us.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
it's incredibly important that we start to get real here about how we can create jobs because I do feel like there's a ton of room to do that. And so happy to see that you opened yourself up to arts administration because I think that's a very valuable tool, especially in an orchestra you're playing in, because you do know your community so well. That's
Yeah.
that's a really remarkable synergy that I think I'm sure you're benefiting from, and I'm sure your community is benefiting.
Yeah. I mean, and it's been so great to see it just kind of broadens your horizons with what you think you know. Because again, when you go through school and you're going to trying to win a job, you're trying to do, XYZ and to check these boxes, you forget how embedded those jobs actually are. And you're not taught this. You're not taught this in school of what it means to serve an orchestra that serves its community. There's so much more to that. And again, you kind of have to just, unfortunately, I wish it wasn't this way. You have to just be in it to experience, to have this light bulb moment and realize, oh yeah, this is actually really important work that goes on right here. And, if me contributing to that as me playing in the orchestra, great. If it's I want to play part-time in this orchestra and work for another, it doesn't have to be just working in arts admin in an orchestra, but you really gain such a valuable understanding of what that means to play to what it actually is. Because it's not just putting a concert on stage. That's not all that it is. It's so much more complicated than that. And really beautiful the way that communities support these and how they're intertwined and embedded in them. And that's the reason why they continue to exist and thrive.
And it's the strong ones that are still existing, and we need
Yeah.
more strong support systems to keep these orchestras and these ensembles playing.
Yeah.
Garret, if somebody was listening to this podcast and amazed by your story and really interested in considering playing a wind instrument, what would you say to them to get them to do it?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and a couple of things I would say. I would say one, it was the best decision that I ever made in my entire life. Still continues to be to play clarinet, keep playing clarinet, not just because of the music playing side, but what music provides in the sense of camaraderie, companionship, and community. Oh, I think I just did a thing with saying three C's. That was not intentional. What that provides for those really shaped me as a person and continues to, because our community is so tightly knit. People care about other people in the work that we do. And it's so easy to build relationships and meet people. Like I met my husband because he's also a musician. Like, and that would never probably have worked out in that way. But that's one connective tissue piece that I think it really speaks to how it plays into your development as a human and how you perceive the world and art around you. You know, we need art in the world always, but especially now we need artists, we need expression. We need people that are unafraid to do that. And whether it's for fun, whether it's wanting to pursue something professionally, there's so many community groups, bands, orchestras that get together that you just jam. Like if that's what you want to do, you don't need to make money off of it. If you do need it, like there's so many things that you can do that will save that and scratch that itch that you feel that you want. But it's fun. Like it's fun doing it. It doesn't come without its challenges, but that's part of why it's fun because you find yourself overcoming them and you have light bulb moments that it's like, oh, I get it now. Oh, this is so fun. This feels good now. And it again, it just really settles in this community of this network of people that I can't even think of anything else in the world that has the same kind of community in our industry. It's really beautiful in that, and that I still think it was the best decision I ever made to do that. So
Defies age. Just do it. Doesn't
yeah.
make well do it.
Yeah. Just do it. There's so many teachers out there. Call someone up and ask where's the nearest music store? Where's somebody that I can talk to? It's so easy, and all you have to do is make the decision to just try.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Garret, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope you get to come. I get to see you sometime. It's always a treat to visit with you. And are you going to the ICA this summer?
I don't think I am this summer. We've got a little bit busy of a schedule, and it's like the one time I get to take vacation from work. So one of these days I'll be able to
I'm not going actually either. I'm letting my
Oh, okay.
so I just wondered. I'm letting my whole team go. All my ambassadors are going to run the show, and I'm excited for them because they're totally able to do that. So it's going to be nice. I'm going to be working, but just here helping them far. So
Well, maybe instead we can have our own jam session or something, powwow over, because I'm only like, what, 2 hours away?
I would need it if you ever pass through. Please let me know. Drinks, coffee, a concert, whatever. Just let me know what you're doing if you're ever around this way because I'm always so happy to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you as well. Always love our chats.
All right. You enjoy your day.
Thanks. You too, Lisa.
See you later.
Bye-bye.